India is a land of color, mystery, and myth, and its skies no different. From the sacred elegance of the Indian peafowl to the shimmering feathers of Himalayan birds few have ever seen, India is home to some of the most rare, sacred, and extraordinary birds on Earth. If you're looking for rare birds of India, sacred birds, or just want to discover wildlife that feels like it belongs in a legend, this is the place. In this video, we're traveling deep into the forests, mountains, deserts, and riverbanks of India, uncovering 15 birds that exist nowhere else on Earth. These are not your average backyard songbirds. Some are massive and powerful, some are tiny and jewel-like, and a few might just be birds you've never even imagined could exist. Each of them plays a role in India's rich tapestry of wildlife, spirituality, and ancient culture. Many are endangered, some are mythical, all are unforgettable. And yes, bird number 15, it performs a courtship dance so strange, so extravagant, that it makes a peacock look like it's barely trying. So if you thought birds were just about wings and feathers, think again. Because here, among sacred temples and wild jungles, the birds of India are symbols, storytellers, and survivors. Let's dive into the world of India's rare and sacred birds, starting with a national icon whose beauty launched 1,000 legends. Let's begin where legend meets feathers, with the Indian peafowl. You've probably seen pictures of it, the iridescent blues, the shimmering greens, the extravagant fan of feathers that looks like a living work of art. But seeing one in motion, feathers fanned, eye spots flashing in the sunlight, is a completely different experience. It's not just a bird, it's a performance. The Indian peafowl, also known as the blue peacock, is more than just beautiful. It's India's national bird, a sacred symbol in Hinduism, and a creature tied to centuries of myth, poetry, and royal imagery. You'll find it in temple carvings, miniature paintings, and ancient scriptures. In fact, the god Kartikeya is often shown riding a peacock into battle. And the feathers? They're said to bring protection, wisdom, and even ward off evil spirits. But beyond the symbolism, the biology is just as fascinating. Males can reach up to 45 inches long, plus an extra 4 to 5 feet of tail feathers. During mating season, they use these feathers to put on elaborate courtship displays, shaking them rapidly to produce a subtle rattling sound while turning slowly in a circle. The eyes on the feathers aren't just decorative, they're hypnotic. Studies show that peahens are more attracted to males with symmetrical eye spots. Yes, even in the bird world, looks matter. Peafowls are native to the Indian subcontinent, but they've been introduced around the world, mostly because people just can't resist having living royalty in their gardens. Despite being common in some areas, they remain deeply respected. In rural India, it's not unusual to see farmers pausing work just to watch a peacock pass by. It's the perfect bird to begin our journey. Sacred, stunning, and unmistakably Indian. And next, we head into the Himalayas, where the cold winds carry something truly dazzling. Number 2 is a bird of snow, sun, and rainbow-colored feathers. Now that we've left the temples and gardens behind, let's climb higher, into the snowy silence of the Himalayas. Here, where the air is thin and cold, winds sweep through the slopes, lives one of the most dazzling birds on Earth, the Himalayan Manal. At first glance, you might think you're seeing a mirage, a flash of metallic blue, then a streak of green, a burst of red-orange. Then it hits you. This bird looks like it was painted by someone who couldn't pick a favorite color, so they used all of them. The male Himalayan Manal is about 28 inches long, with iridescent plumage that shifts depending on the light. Its head glows green, the back shimmers with purples and bronze, and the tail, a soft, burnt orange fan that finishes the masterpiece. Locals call it the Damfe, and in Indian culture, it's a symbol of grace and resilience. In fact, it's the state bird of Uttarakhand, where it's often spotted tiptoeing through alpine meadows and rhododendron forests. But don't let the beauty fool you. This bird is built for survival. It forages through snow and rocky soil, digging for roots, tubers, and insects. Its strong legs and curved beak help it thrive where few birds dare to go. And when startled, it can take off like a rocket, launching from a steep cliff with a burst of color that disappears into the clouds. Interestingly, the female is much duller in color, camouflaged in brown and gray to protect her nest, because up here, beauty is dangerous and stealth means survival. For centuries, the Himalayan Manal has inspired artists, monks, and mountain dwellers alike. It's more than a bird. It's a jewel of the sky, born of snow and sun. And if you think this one's colorful, wait until you meet our next bird. Number 3 may not have rainbow feathers, but it does have a face that looks like it's wearing a medieval helmet and a voice that could wake the forest. From the icy peaks of the Himalayas, we now plunge into the lush tropical forests of India's Western Ghats and Northeast. And echoing through the trees, a deep whooshing sound, like someone swinging a giant fan through the jungle. That's not the wind. That's the wing beat of the great hornbill. This bird doesn't sneak through the forest, it announces itself. Measuring up to 4 feet in wingspan and standing nearly 3.5 feet tall, the great hornbill is one of the largest hornbill species in the world. Its massive yellow and black beak, topped with a hollow structure called a casque, makes it look like it's wearing a medieval helmet or a giant banana. But that casque isn't just for show. It amplifies the bird's calls, deep, echoing gawk-gawk sounds that can be heard over half a mile away. In many indigenous cultures, the hornbill is seen as a symbol of strength, loyalty, and guardianship. In fact, in some tribes of Northeast India, it's deeply woven into folk tales and ceremonial dress. But what's even more impressive than its appearance is its parenting style. When it's time to breed, the female hornbill enters a tree cavity, and the male seals her inside using mud, fruit pulp, and feces, leaving only a narrow slit through which he feeds her and the chicks for several weeks. Yes, you heard that right. She stays locked in the nest, protected and hidden, while the male works full-time as a food delivery service. It's bizarre, it's brilliant, and it works. Sadly, like many forest giants, the great hornbill is under threat. Deforestation and hunting have reduced its numbers, though conservation efforts are helping it bounce back in some regions. Still, there's something magical about seeing one in the wild, gliding across the canopy like a living relic from an ancient world. And speaking of ancient, our next bird has ties to a long-lost relative you may have heard of. Number 4 is shiny, bold, and just might be a cousin of the dodo. From the thick forests of mainland India, we now head to the far-flung islands of the Andaman and Nikobar archipelago, where the waves are warm, the palm trees sway, and evolution has been creative. Meet the Nikobar pigeon. It may sound ordinary, but this bird is anything but. Imagine a pigeon, but swap out the gray feathers for a coat of metallic greens, fiery oranges, and deep blues that shimmer like oil in sunlight. Then give it long, flowing hackles on its neck like a royal cape. Now top it off with red legs and a bold black beak. This bird doesn't just walk, it struts. But looks aren't the only reason it stands out. The Nikobar pigeon is the closest living relative of the extinct dodo. Yes, that flightless bird from Mauritius that went extinct in the 1600s. While the dodo became a cautionary tale, the Nikobar pigeon survived by staying small, fast, and island savvy. It's about 16 inches long, can fly well, and prefers to live in dense coastal forests, feeding on seeds, fruits, and small invertebrates. Interestingly, unlike most pigeons, it swallows stones to help grind up food in its gizzard, a built-in food processor. But this shining island bird is now facing its own challenges. With increasing human activity, habitat loss, and egg poaching in the Nicobar Islands, the species is now classified as near threatened. It also has the unfortunate habit of nesting on the ground, making its eggs easy targets for predators and people. Still, catching a glimpse of a Nikobar pigeon in the wild feels like seeing a myth in motion, a bird that shouldn't exist, but does. And next, we leave shimmering feathers behind and head to the rivers, where a bird with a bizarre beak has mastered the art of fishing from midair. Number 5 is fast, sleek, and aerodynamic in the weirdest way. Okay, get ready for a beak you won't forget. This is the Indian skimmer, and it has one of the strangest and coolest feeding styles in the bird world. At first glance, it looks like a cross between a gull and a tern. White body, black back, bright orange beak. But look closer, and you'll see the real twist. Its lower beak is longer than the upper one. Why? Because this bird doesn't just fish, it skims. Here's how it works. The Indian skimmer flies low over rivers, lakes, and estuaries, with its lower mandibles slicing through the water like a knife. The moment it touches a fish or insect near the surface, snap, its upper beak slams shut. No splash, no chase, just precision. It's like aerial fishing with chopsticks at 30 miles per hour. About 16 to 18 inches long, the Indian skimmer is built for speed and agility. Its wings are long and pointed, allowing it to glide effortlessly over the water for hours. Historically, it was found along major river systems across the Indian subcontinent, but today it's in serious trouble. With the damming of rivers, sand mining, pollution, and habitat loss, its nesting grounds, sandy riverbanks, are disappearing fast. There may be fewer than 2,500 individuals left in the wild. The saddest part? Even many people living near these rivers have never seen one. But if you're lucky enough to spot an Indian skimmer in action, it looks like something out of an action movie. Low, fast, quiet, and deadly accurate. A bird designed not just to fly, but to slice. And coming up next, we're trading precision for pure mystery. Number 6 is a bird with a face you won't believe, and a call that sounds like a haunted forest come to life. You know those birds that make you stop and say, "Wait, is that even real?" Meet the Sri Lanka frogmouth. Despite the name, it's found not only in Sri Lanka, but also in the dense forests of southern India, especially in the Western Ghats. And once you see it, you'll never forget it. This bird looks like it was assembled from spare parts, a body like a leaf, eyes like marbles, and a wide, flattened beak that honestly looks like a tiny dinosaur snout. It's about 9 inches long, covered in rough, bark-colored feathers with broken streaks and mottled patterns. The camouflage is so perfect that even trained biologists sometimes walk right past it. During the day, the frogmouth sits completely still on a branch, head tilted upward, beak slightly open, mimicking a broken twig. It doesn't flinch, it doesn't blink, it just waits. But at night, it comes alive, gliding silently through the undergrowth, hunting insects with surprising agility. Its call? A soft, haunting whoop, whoop, like something from a ghost story whispered through the leaves. Even weirder, it doesn't build a proper nest. Instead, it lays a single egg on a tiny pad of moss and bark placed on a low branch, just enough to keep it from falling. Minimalist parenting, jungle edition. For centuries, people barely noticed this bird. And even today, many local villagers believe it's a spirit or omen, a shadow that watches but is never caught. But that's what makes the frogmouth so special. It's not trying to impress, it's trying to disappear. And in that silence, it becomes unforgettable. Next up, we meet a bird that did disappear for over 100 years. And then, like a legend, it returned. Number 7 is not just rare, it was gone until it wasn't. Some birds are rare, some are endangered, and then there's the forest owlet, a bird that literally came back from the dead. First described in 1873, this elusive owl vanished from all scientific records shortly after. For more than 100 years, no one saw it. No photos, no calls, no feathers. Experts declared it extinct. That is, until 1997. In a remote patch of dry forest in central India, a small group of ornithologists spotted something strange sitting on a tree branch. It had a round head, bold dark eyes, white belly, and thick, chunky legs, like a forest gnome with feathers. It was real. The forest owlet was alive. About 9 inches tall, this owl doesn't look particularly flashy. Its coloration is soft, dusty gray-brown with pale underparts and barring on the chest. But what it lacks in color, it makes up for in story. Unlike many owls, the forest owlet is diurnal, active during the day. It hunts small lizards, insects, and rodents, often perching motionless before striking with lightning-fast reflexes. It's also incredibly territorial and rarely strays far from its nesting site. Today, the forest owlet is critically endangered, with fewer than 250 individuals known to exist. Its habitat, dry deciduous forest, is under constant threat from logging and agriculture. But thanks to its rediscovery, conservation efforts are now focused on protecting what little forest remains. Local communities are even being involved in the mission to save the ghost bird that came home. And it's hard not to root for it, because sometimes, against all odds, nature surprises us. So if you ever find yourself in a quiet Indian forest and you spot two glowing eyes watching you from a tree, you might just be looking at a legend reborn. And next, we head to the highlands, where sapphire-colored birds dart between mountain mist and ancient tea gardens. Number 8 is small, secretive, and dressed in royal blue. High in the Shola forests of southern India, where tea plantations hug the hills and mist weaves through the trees, lives a bird that wears the sky. Meet the Nilgiri Flycatcher, a small, quiet songbird wrapped in velvet blue feathers. Found only in the Western Ghats, this bird is a true mountain specialist. It lives at elevations between 3,300 to 7,200 feet, flitting between moss-covered branches and dense forest canopies. Males are a rich, deep sapphire blue with a slight purple sheen in the right light. Females are darker and more muted, almost stormy in color, but no less graceful. It's about 5.5 inches long, with a short tail and sharp little beak made for snatching insects midair. And that's where the flycatcher name comes from. It perches quietly on a branch, then darts out to grab a passing fly, moth, or beetle, hovering for a split second before snapping back to its perch. Clean, precise, almost effortless. But despite its skills and beauty, the Nilgiri flycatcher is rarely seen. It doesn't sing loudly. It doesn't flash bright colors. It just exists, like a breath of blue mist drifting through the trees. What makes this bird so special isn't just how rare it is, though yes, it's endemic to India and found nowhere else on Earth. It's the feeling it leaves behind. Spotting one in the wild feels like witnessing a poem written in feathers, a quiet reminder that not all beauty shouts. It's currently listed as near threatened, mostly due to habitat loss. Shola forests are shrinking, pushed back by development and farming. But for now, the Nilgiri flycatcher still watches over the misty highlands, royal, reserved, and completely at home. And next, we go from subtle elegance to serious statement. Because number 9 doesn't wear blue or gray, it wears pink, and it flies like a flag across India's wetlands. If the last bird was quiet elegance, this one is pure spectacle. Meet the painted stork, a bird so brightly patterned it looks like someone dipped it in watercolor, let it dry in the sun, and then gave it a long golden bill for flair. Standing over 3 feet tall, the painted stork is hard to miss. Its body is mostly white, with bold black stripes on the wings and a splash of bubblegum pink near the tail. The bill is long, slightly curved downward, and a striking shade of yellow-orange, perfect for its signature feeding move. And what is that, you ask? Picture this. The stork wades through shallow water, head down, bill half open, sweeping it from side to side like a metal detector. The second it touches a fish, snap. It grabs and gulps, barely missing a step. It's like bird ballet in a swamp. Painted storks live across much of the Indian subcontinent, especially near wetlands, lakes, and floodplains. They often gather in large, noisy colonies, nesting in trees that overhang the water. And when nesting season hits, things get loud. Dozens, sometimes hundreds, of birds flapping, honking, clacking their bills, and making a scene straight out of a wildlife festival. Parents take turns feeding the chicks, using that long bill to gently drop food right into the hungry mouths. But here's the twist. While not technically endangered, their numbers are dropping due to wetland destruction and water pollution. And without healthy wetlands, their bright feathers and graceful feeding, dances could fade into memory. Still, when you see a painted stork soaring overhead, pink trailing behind like a ribbon in the sky, you understand why it earned its name. It's a painting brought to life. And next, we return to the shadows, deep into the forest, where a bird almost no one ever sees waits under cover of darkness. Number 10 is rare. So rare, in fact, it might already be gone. Some birds hide, others vanish. And then there's the Jerans Corser, a bird that disappeared for over a century and still seems like it's only half returned. First discovered in 1848 in Andhra Pradesh, this nocturnal ground dweller was seen a handful of times and then vanished. For over 80 years, it was presumed extinct. No sightings, no sounds, no feathers. And then, in 1986, during a routine bird survey, someone spotted it again, alive, walking in the shadows like it had never left. But here's the thing. Even now, no one really knows how many exist. Sightings are incredibly rare. In fact, most evidence comes from camera traps, footprints, or fleeting glimpses at night. What we do know, the Jerans Corser is about 9 inches tall, with sandy brown plumage, 2 white neck bands, and long legs built for silent nighttime walking. It lives in scrub forests and thorny undergrowth, places often ignored or cleared for farmland. And that's the problem. Its habitat is vanishing, often quietly, without anyone realizing what's being lost. It doesn't sing elaborate songs. It doesn't show off bright feathers. It just survives, barely, in a narrow slice of habitat that keeps shrinking. Conservationists have tried to study it, track it, even protect its breeding grounds, but the bird remains a mystery. Some call it a ghost species, a bird caught between extinction and existence. And maybe that's what makes it so powerful. Because the Jerans Corser isn't just rare, it's a reminder that nature doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers, and if we don't listen, it disappears. Next, we head to the skies again, where a giant bird with a bald head and a grim jaw plays one of the most vital roles in the ecosystem. Number 11 is misunderstood, but absolutely essential. Let's be honest, vultures don't get a lot of love. They're bald, they eat dead things, they hang out in graveyard-like silence. But the Indian vulture, it's not just important, it's essential, a frontline defender in nature's cleanup crew. Standing over 3 feet tall, with a wingspan of nearly 8 feet, the Indian vulture cuts an imposing figure. Its pale, featherless head and hooked beak might look grim, but it's perfectly adapted for scavenging, diving into carcasses that other animals wouldn't dare touch. And that's exactly what makes it so valuable. By consuming dead livestock quickly, vultures prevent the spread of deadly diseases like anthrax, rabies, and brucellosis. They're not just nature's recyclers, they're public health workers with wings. But here's the tragedy. In the 1990s, millions of Indian vultures suddenly vanished. Entire populations collapsed by over 95% in just a few years. Why? A veterinary drug called diclofenac, used to treat cattle, was toxic to vultures when they fed on treated carcasses. A single dose could kill an adult vulture within days. It was one of the fastest and most devastating population crashes in bird conservation history. Since then, diclofenac has been banned and breeding programs have been launched. But the recovery is slow. These birds raise just 1 chick per year, and finding safe habitat and food remains a major challenge. Yet despite it all, the Indian vulture still soars, gliding high on thermals above fields and villages, watching, waiting, cleaning. And slowly people are starting to see it differently, not as a symbol of death, but as a guardian of balance, keeping the natural world from tipping into decay. Next up, a wild cousin of your backyard chicken. But this one struts through ancient forests, glowing with bronze, black, and fire orange feathers. Number 12 is the original jungle fowl, and it knows it. You've seen chickens before. You might even hear one every morning. But have you ever met the wild royal ancestor of all of them? Say hello to the gray jungle fowl, the original bird behind your breakfast eggs. Native to the forests and scrublands of southern and western India, this bird is the real deal. Untamed, untouchable, and way more fabulous than any farm chicken. The males are stunning. Their neck feathers shimmer with hues of silver, copper, and gold, almost metallic. Their body is dark and iridescent, with fine white barring, and their legs come equipped with sharp spurs made for defense. And when they crow, it's loud, wild, and has a strange metallic ring, like a prehistoric alarm clock. At about 26 to 29 inches long, the gray jungle fowl is slightly smaller than domestic chickens, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in attitude. They're shy, fast-moving, and excellent flyers over short distances, unlike their farm cousins. And they know the forest inside and out, foraging at dawn and dusk for seeds, insects, berries, and shoots. But the most fascinating thing? Their DNA lives inside every single chicken on Earth. That's right, modern chickens are descendants of a hybrid between the red jungle fowl and this gray jungle fowl, which means your dinner has a bit of Indian forest royalty in its bloodline. Though still relatively common in some regions, gray jungle fowls are under increasing pressure from habitat loss and hybridization with domestic chickens, which dilutes the wild gene pool. Yet for now, deep in India's forests, the originals still roam, fast, fierce, and feathered like fire. Next up, we shrink things down, way down, because number 13 is tiny, so small it could sit on your finger, but with colors that rival a tropical gemstone. Small, delicate, sparkling, the green Avidat looks like something straight out of a jeweler's dream, if that jeweler specialized in feathers and charm. Measuring just 4 inches long, this tiny finch-like bird is covered in bright olive-green plumage, with a yellow belly and a vivid red beak. But the detail that really pops, its flanks are dotted with neat white spots, like tiny polka dots hand-painted onto its sides. Native to central and northwestern India, the green Avidat prefers grassy scrublands, bamboo thickets, and farmlands, usually sticking close to ground cover. It lives in small flocks and chirps with a soft, high-pitched call that sounds more like a whisper than a song. But don't let the size fool you. This bird has a big history. In the 20th century, it became wildly popular in the pet trade due to its charming appearance and calm nature. Thousands were captured and sold. As a result, wild populations plummeted, and the species was pushed to the brink. Today, the green Avidat is listed as vulnerable, with only scattered populations remaining in the wild. Conservationists are now working to restore its habitat and regulate illegal trade. But progress is slow, and sightings are still rare. And here's the irony. For a bird so small and quiet, it's caused quite a stir in Indian ornithology circles. Because while many people chase big, flashy species, the Avidat proves that even the tiniest birds carry stories worth hearing. It's a bird of patience, of delicate balance, a symbol of what we could lose if we value beauty only as something to own. Next up, we're going bold again, with a bird that doesn't whisper or hide. It booms. Number 14 is loud, flamboyant, and dressed like it's always ready to walk the red carpet. If the red carpet were made of rhododendron leaves. If birds had a red carpet, the satyr Tragapan would be the first to arrive. Dressed in glowing red, electric blue, and a chest full of confidence. This bird doesn't whisper, it booms. Found in the Himalayan foothills of northern India, the satyr Tragapan is a type of pheasant. But unlike the farmyard kind, this one looks like it walks straight out of a fantasy novel. The males are about 25 to 28 inches long, with fiery red plumage, white spots like pearls, and a dramatic black and blue face. But wait, things get interesting during mating season. When trying to attract a mate, the male performs one of the most elaborate courtship displays in the bird world. He inflates a pair of bright blue throat wattles, raises 2 horn-like structures on his head, and spreads his wings wide. Then he lets out a deep, echoing boom, like a tribal drum in the middle of the forest. And the dance? It's part strut, part slow-motion bow, part interpretive art. Some call him the jungle monsoon dancer. And honestly, it fits. The satyr Tragapan lives in cool, temperate forests, often in rhododendron groves and mossy undergrowth. It's mostly shy, preferring to forage alone for berries, leaves, and insects. Females are more muted in color, brown and camouflaged, but no less important, they choose the best dancer, the most vibrant male, and the best hidden nest. Despite its show-stopping appearance, the satyr Tragapan is classified as near-threatened, mostly due to deforestation and hunting. Its name, by the way? Satyr comes from Greek mythology, half-man, half-goat forest spirits known for wild behavior. Tragapan is a Latin word for mythical horned birds. So basically, scientists agreed, this bird is just too mythical for a regular name. And next, we reach our final bird, a national icon, a sacred symbol, a creature that wears centuries of culture in every feather. Number 15 will close this journey exactly where it began, with a legend. And finally, we end with a bird that feels more like a memory than a creature. A flicker of white, a flash of grace, a ghost through green leaves. Meet the Indian paradise flycatcher. It doesn't roar. It doesn't dazzle with color. Instead, it glides through the forest like a whisper made of feathers. Found across India's forests, from Himalayan foothills to southern jungles, this bird is known for its long, trailing tail feathers, pure white in adult males, that can stretch nearly 12 inches beyond its body. In flight, it looks like a ribbon caught in the wind, dancing between branches, disappearing just as quickly as it appeared. At about 7 to 8 inches in body length, the Indian paradise flycatcher is not a large bird, but it leaves a big impression. Males come in two color forms, pure white or glossy black-blue, both with the same elegant tail. Females are cinnamon brown, with shorter tails, graceful in their own quiet way. But it's not just about looks. These birds are masters of aerial hunting, darting through the canopy to snatch insects in midair with split-second precision. And in Indian folklore, the paradise flycatcher is often seen as a symbol of the soul, a traveler between worlds, never quite staying still, always just out of reach. Even its call is soft, just a gentle chirr, 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 echoing through the leaves. This bird reminds us that not all legends are loud. Some drift past us quietly. Some beauty asks nothing but to be witnessed. And maybe that's the perfect way to end our journey. Because after all the brilliant colors, wild sounds, and impossible feathers sometimes, it's the softest flight that stays with you longest. So next time you walk through a forest in India, look up. You might just see a white ribbon gliding through the trees and wonder if you ever saw it at all. After 15 rare wings, 15 voices echoing through forest, desert, mountain, and marsh, you start to see India not just as a place on a map, but as a living, breathing aviary of myth, color, and wild memory. From the shimmering Himalayas to the quiet coastal mangroves, these birds don't just survive. They carry stories of gods and ghosts, of extinction and rebirth, of music and silence. Some vanish before we ever see them. Some dance through mist and legend. And a few, like that ribbon-white flycatcher, simply pass by, leaving only wonder behind. But here's the truth. Every bird on this list still needs us. They need watchers, listeners, protectors, because beauty, left unseen, can disappear. So if this journey meant something to you, hit like, subscribe, come along again. Because in the next episode, we leave the temples and tigers behind and head to Japan, where birds aren't just wild. They're messengers, shapeshifters, and spirits of the wind. Until then, keep looking up. The sky has stories. You just have to listen.